What's up, everybody, and welcome to brand new hockey podcast at Apollo Media, Clean Sheet Ice. I am your host, Stone Straightman, over at Apollo Media, and this is my guy, Dom Garcia. We're going to be talking stick and puck. It's going to be great. How are we doing, Dom?
We're doing great. Four Nations rosters out. Some teams are rolling, some teams are not, and it's a good time to be a hockey fan.
It is. It's been a delightful time. I see you got your Stars shirt on. I got my Texas Hockey Podcast hat on. Here to talk a little bit about the Dallas Stars and a little bit about Four Nations and whatever else we can get into with hockey. So it's a brand new podcast. We're just starting it out. We're testing out the waters in the hockey world here at Apollo Media. And we had some breaking news just yesterday, a couple days ago, actually, and then it fully broke yesterday. Tyler Seguin of the Dallas Stars. He's a pillar in the organization. He's a leader in the locker room, and he's going to be out for 4 to 6 months. He's fixing his labrum tear in his hip. I was listening to DLLS Stars podcast today, and they were getting into the weeds with the actual medical terms and everything that's actually going to happen. So apparently he's going to shave part of his hip bone, and then they're going to fix the labrum after that. It's a lingering injury back from 2020 during the bubble. He tore it then and then kind of powered through in 21 and just wasn't able to make it. So I already missed the season from it, and it sucks because he's on the best line of hockey. So Tyler Seguin out 4 to 6 months for the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, and he was having a really good year. And like you said, his line mates were buzzing. Everything was looking good. The inside reports, at least people close to the team, are saying that it was a lingering issue. They'd known about it, but he toughed it out as long as he could. And sadly, the Dallas Stars are missing a key piece to their team.
Yeah, and we actually got some tidbits of info through sources. Look at us at Apollo Media having sources. Who would have thought? So Seguin had this injury. He was trying to get the surgery this offseason, allegedly, and the Stars were like, hey, why don't you play the first 10 to 20 games, see how you feel, and then we'll revisit it after that. I think he got through game like 21, 22, and it was time. They put him on IR to start. They didn't say he was getting surgery or anything. He's actually getting surgery today, December 5th, as we're recording this, on his hip. So the inevitable happened, and Jim Nill, Masterclass GM of the year, 2 years running, now has an extra $9.85 million to play with if Seguin does go on LTIR, long-term injury reserve. If you're not familiar, he'll be out for 4 to 6 months, which kind of lines up with the playoffs when they start, so he could come back then. But now he's got around $16 million to play with going into the deadline. So the Stars could add some pieces here, boys. I don't know. It could be interesting.
I mean, we looked at it as they were buyers at the deadline before the injury, and now you add that LTIR component. Geez, I mean, it's hop on NHL, get into season mode, and try and configure a trade that'll work. I mean, that's really what we're going to. I've seen fans already talking about Malkin possibly leaving Pittsburgh. I mean, the wheels are rolling, and I think nobody would be surprised if Dallas makes a big move.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a defenseman first. I think it's going to be a top-tier defenseman is who they're going to go after originally to pair with Miro Heiskanen, just to free him up. Get maybe a defenseman like Tanev, like they did last season. He was awesome with Miro, and
That's great.
It's unfortunate we had to let him go in free agency, but luckily Lyubushkin has been pretty solid. He came over from Toronto in free agency. He's been a really good piece for the Stars. He's been kind of a heavy-handed guy. He likes to throw around the mitts and stick up for his teammates and everything, which is something the Stars were missing last year. Big finesse team, obviously. The Seguin line is all finesse, like just flashy moves. And then you got Bork and Stankoven, the two little guys that are throwing around. And you just need a little bit more meanness and toughness, I think, in the locker room. So they went and did that in the offseason, added Dumba as well, but he's been a healthy scratch kind of every other game, kind of filtering in the defenseman, which is good. You got depth and all that, but now I think you can go get a top-line defenseman to pair with Miro and free him up on the offensive side, but also let him just throw that stick around on defense. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I'm up in the press box now somehow. I don't know how that happened, but we're up there. I'm just watching Miro every night. He's a stud. He's awesome. But if he could do more on the offense, that'd be incredible. So I want a top-line defenseman, and then if Malkin's the guy, you can throw him on the third line with like Jamie Benn and Logan Stankoven come playoff time. Fire. I
I
love it.
mean, basically, what I look at, if you're going to add a defenseman, if you can get that Jacob Chikrin production that he's been able to do for Washington, I think that would just that'd be tough for any team to compete against. But yeah, I mean, gosh, so much stick handling, so much great passing already on that Dallas team. Um, it's man, it's open season right now. I'm excited.
It is. It is. And the lines are all starting to kind of gel a little bit. They put Wyatt Johnson on the top line to replace Joe Pavelski, who's been a big miss this year. You can tell in the locker room, you can tell on the ice that Joe Pavelski's leadership and experience in the NHL is missing at some point. So that top line of Rupe Hintz, Wyatt Johnston, and Jason Robertson are starting to get a little bit more gelled, but now all the lines are going to get thrown around again with the Seguin injury, and we'll see what kind of moves they can end up making. They lost last night in LA on 1-goal game,
Tough watch.
3-2.
It was a
But
tough watch.
yeah, they didn't have the juice last night, and it just didn't look right. And it happens
It's
in hockey. You just kind of have an off
good
night.
to see a special teams goal, though. You know, it's been an issue
Yeah,
recent, but hey, we're here.
yeah. I think we were probably game 5 or so, and they hadn't scored on the power play since the opening night against Nashville. And
Jesus.
us in the reporters room, we were like, "Hey, Pete, how do we?" Talking to Pete DeBoer, the head coach, and we were like, "What's wrong with the power play?" And he said, "Don't talk about the power play until after game 20." And we're like, "Okay, yeah, Roger." And then he walked out of the press room. Like that was the last question. He fielded like 3 questions from everyone, like just only 3 total. Like not everyone got to ask a question. He's like, "Don't talk to me about the power play," and then he walked out.
Wow.
So we're past game 20 now, and the power play is still lacking. And it's truly Joe Pavelski. His
Yeah.
leadership and the tipping ability, the positioning on offense, and Wyatt Johnson obviously learned a ton from him. He lived with Joe Pavelski for the last 2 seasons, and obviously picked up on a lot of his attributes and kind of learned some things. And he's starting to gel in there. Him and Rupe have really built some good chemistry. And Jason Robertson, Robo, he's getting there. He had a good goal. So the week before Thanksgiving, he finally got one, and he did the little spanorama and just flung it at the net, and it went in. And he was like, "It's big monkey off your back," finally getting that goal. So if that top line can start producing really well, you still got Marchment and Duchesne. Duchesne's been incredible, best contract in hockey. Stellar
How
dude too.
how he missed Team Canada.
Unbelievable. So let's talk about Four Nations. We'll go ahead and get into that. So the rosters came out yesterday. Team USA kind of looks about right. Obviously, I wanted Robo on the team, but I understood why he was left off of the roster. Jake Ottinger is the number 2 goalie, I believe, going in behind Hellebuck. And Team USA looks good, but I'm interested to see kind of how Team USA gels and all that, because Canada, they've been playing together for decades at this point. Like you got Crosby and McDavid and all these guys. They just all been playing together for so long. And now that we don't have the Olympics and we got this Four Nations tournament, I'm interested to see what Team USA does against that Canada team, which Canada team's stacked as well. I mean, Sam Bennett, Anthony Cirelli, Sidney Crosby, Seth Jarvis, Nathan McKinnon, Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner, Connor McDavid, Braden Point, Sam Reinhart, Mark Stone, and then the defense is nuts too. So Canada's going to be good, and we'll see what happens because we still have 2 months or so before that tournament actually happens. But I was disappointed that Matt Duchene was left off that roster. He's one of the best players in hockey right now. Like he's
Playing out of
producing,
his mind.
he's just skating through dudes like he's still 25. Like he's up there. He's like 33, 35. Like
Yeah.
he's older, and he's still just skating by dudes and knows exactly where to be. Pucks are on point on passes, and he's getting feeds from Seguin and Marchment, and it's just Mason Marchment, another one. Like you could have just put that whole line on Team Canada, and it would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, history will say that anytime any Canadian player puts that jersey on, there's a little bit of an edge they come with, and I think that's going to be the biggest question for the United States team. They're as stacked as they come, but are they going to have that pride of the red, white, and blue? It's going to be fun. From a Canadian standpoint, I'm interested to see who starts off in net. With the United States, everyone kind of believes that it's going to be Hellebuck to start. I kind of have a hot take in. Listen, I know Swayman started off really bad this year. Obviously, the contract stuff was going on, but he's the type of guy that when he's on, the entire team feeds off of it. And if he starts out hot and you got to come back the next game and face Ottinger or Hollebuck, like good luck.
Yeah.
It's kind of a do or die there, but um, yeah, man. I mean, I think the takeaway I had from the roster announcement is the guys left off all the teams like unreal talent, and I think we're in for a treat with this cup. I mean, it's going to be different from what any other sport's doing. I'm sure Gary Bettman's going to reap all the rewards from it, and I'm going to try to make it out to Boston, see if I can catch a game for sure.
Absolutely, dude. That'd be awesome. But yeah, the guys left off the roster, you could have just made another Team Canada or another Team USA essentially and been competitive in the Four Nations tournament. And the other team I'm looking at is Team Finland. Obviously, with the Dallas
Yeah,
Stars, we just have Finnish dudes everywhere. You got Rupe, you got Miro, Esa Lindell, who's been one of my other favorite players to watch this season. He's finally free from the Yanni Hakanpää pairing, and he's actually able to produce and be good on defense and as well as offense and see some of the moves that he's able to make. You weren't seeing that last season because of his pairings, and he was basically taking on the load of defending everyone and then not able to do anything on offense because he's dead tired from defending everyone. The Finnish, I mean, they won a gold medal here in the last few years as well in one of the other tournaments in Worlds, I believe. So they're not a team to sleep on. All four teams are going to be stellar. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be interesting because we don't get the Olympics anymore, but I'm curious to see if, like you said, the pride of Canada shows through. Does the pride of USA show through in a Four Nations tournament where it really doesn't hold any meaning yet because it's the first one? Like
right.
we don't know how everyone's going to react to it, if they're going to ball out because it's All-Star break essentially, and are they going to be mad that they have to go play in the Four Nations tournament? Are they going to be happy to go do it? I think they're all going to be happy, but curious to see how it plays out and all the rivalries that we get through it because it's only four teams, and all four teams, they can hate each other equally by the end of it. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
And one thing that's fun about this tournament is, you got guys like Crosby. We're not having a great year over in Pittsburgh. They're not filling the seats in that stadium. Crosby gets to go into a packed out arena. He gets to go into a playoff atmosphere this year, and he gets to show what he can do. Rupe Hintz is who I will be watching all tournament. He is the guy that national media you don't really hear a lot of, but he's going to make a statement this tournament for sure. I mean, his play. I think every 10 games, I think, God, he's improving in positioning. He's improving he's always in the right spots, and it's getting better with every game. With every 5-10 games I see him in.
Yeah, I mean, Rupe's arguably one of the best two-way forwards, center line forwards that we've had in hockey, and he's the top line for the Dallas Stars, who probably the third best team in the Central right now by record wise. But by the end of the season, we'll see what happens. But Rupe, he's a joy to watch because he's faster than everybody, but he also plays defense. He hits hard. He's in the right positions, like you're saying, and I can tell that he's starting to gel with his top line because last season when he wasn't hurt, like probably one of our better players, but he wasn't scoring as much. He doesn't have the assist
Yeah,
numbers and everything, but he's doing all the right things on the. It's not showing up on the stat sheet, but he's doing all the right things on the ice. So
exactly.
um,
Yeah,
he's awesome, and he's going to be probably top dog on that first line for Team Finland, and then you got Miro in the top pairing probably for Team Finland as well. I'm curious to see if they just put him with Esa Lindell and they just like ride the chemistry out because they have a ton of chemistry. Every time they're put on the line together on defense, they're just stellar. You know, and they
yeah,
know where to be, they know what to do, and they know each other's movements. So curious if that's what's happening with Team Finland. But yeah, Rupe, he's a blast to watch, and excited to see where the season takes him as kind of top line centerman on the top line. And it's not Joe Pavelski's line anymore. It's Rupe's
right.
line. It's Wyatt Johnston's line. It's Jason Robertson's line. And Robo obviously had 100 and whatever points the other season, and he's a joy to watch. He just needs to get going. And he missed all training camp. He had a foot injury. He didn't play in training camp. It was an actual injury. It wasn't a holdout for a contract like he did the other year, and came out just firing and 100 points like out of nowhere, just 50 goals. Just how you doing, you know? But
Yeah, we know that top level play is there from him. It just slowly, haven't seen it yet, but we'll get there with him. We'll get
Yeah,
there.
for sure. And for our Houston listeners, I understand that it's a Dallas team, but it's the only Texas hockey team that we have right now. We'll see what happens in the next couple of years with expansion. Hopefully, it hits Houston and we can get that Houston-Dallas rivalry going. And we'll be here to talk Texas hockey, not just Dallas hockey, on this podcast, Clean Sheet of Ice. Last thing before we go, Jim Montgomery, Stars legend, head coach, legend used loosely there, was let go by the Boston Bruins a couple weeks ago. And the Spit and Chicklets guys were all over it. They knew who the coach was going to be, the interim coach, and it was kind of a predetermined move. In preseason, they let Jim and the other guy know, like, hey, if this thing doesn't work, you're going to be gone, and this guy's going to be the new head coach for the rest of the season. And they've been scoring pretty well. They've been winning some games, and then Jim Montgomery gets picked up by the St. Louis Blues, which I still hate the Blues from 2019. I don't want to relive it. Every time I see their team, I hate them. I can't help it. But Jim Montgomery, he's over in St. Louis now, and I think they've won like 4 in a row since he got there. Like, they're playing really well. So the Jim Montgomery move, the old hockey coach gets fired and gets hired, and both teams do really well. Change of scenery, I guess, is the name of the game with hockey head coaches.
Yeah, old faces and new places. I mean, Boston really stumbled early. I mean, not Boston.
St. Louis.
St. Louis. St. Louis really stumbled early, but I think the last one was against Winnipeg, and Winnipeg was my wagon this year. I mean, my cup pick was Dallas, but seeing Winnipeg last postseason, I mean, they run into Nathan McKinnon in Colorado. It's going to happen, but that small little barn and those guys flying around it. I mean, they're not the Chiefs, but the Chiefs have every play just magically go their way. That's Winnipeg, and they haven't looked that good this like past couple of games.
Yeah.
Kind of shaky there, and it bodes really well for Minnesota and Dallas, who want that top spot in the division. But yeah, I mean, he was familiar with St. Louis's organization. He had a familiarity, and it's so funny how the Chicklets, like, they never miss. I mean, when they get a scoop, whether they give it out or not, like, other media pundits might not like it, but I mean, at least they're being honest, right?
Yeah.
So, but
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, both parties ended up really well, which I guess that's the best case scenario. So we'll see how both ends go left and right, and kind of what comes out of it.
Yeah, I wonder what happens with Boston this season, because last time he got fired midseason, team hires a new coach. It was Dallas, and they ended up in the Cup final and during the bubble with Rick Bowness. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen, because I just hate Boston. I watched them a few weeks ago in Dallas in the press box, and we just put a pummeling on them. I mean, it was like 7-2. Pasternak got a goal kind of late in the third period, and we just put a pummeling on them. And it was before Montgomery got fired, so we'll see how that plays out for them. I think St. Louis is just going to be a better team. I don't know if they're going to make a run. I don't know if they're even going to make the playoffs. Like, it's a tough division to be in, but they're obviously a lot better, a harder tough out during the regular season when you have to play them night in and night out. They're going to be a better team all around. In Boston, obviously, they're going through it right now, and they're playing a lot better with the change, and just needed something to shake. And it happened with Edmonton last season. They fired the coach, and all of a sudden they're in the Cup final, go on some big runs after losing a bunch in a row. So it just happens in hockey, I guess. I've never really understood why that is. Like, just the coach leaves and all of a sudden a new guy steps in and he doesn't really change all that much, and it just is better. Like, is the head coach just an asshole? Is he like the players are just tired of hearing him every day? I don't get it. But it keeps working. It keeps happening.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been watching Utah this year, and literally, I mean, same players. You know, it made a few additions here, but when they came out in that season, the inaugural game, I mean, it was electric. And I understand why, going from like a 5,000 seat barn to a very weirdly retrofitted basketball arena. But yeah, it's just hockey, among any other sport, is just very, baseball, you can't put out the same lineup and expect a different result. Football, anybody can beat anybody. But hockey, man, when you're in the dumps, you're really in the dumps, and when you're rolling, you're really rolling. And it's good to see. Good to see. Just one quick flip, and we'll see where they go from here. Still very, very far reach from the playoffs, but they're going to be. It's going to be a good story to follow, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Winnipeg earlier. They came out They were 14-1 to start the season, 15-1, something like that. They were just on a tear because every time you walk into the locker room after the game at the Stars, they have the standings up and the points and the wins and losses and everything. And it was every time I walked in there, it's just Winnipeg, Winnipeg, Winnipeg. They're just winning all the time. So I'm hoping that stops. No need for them. I'm good. I'm good on Winnipeg, but they're a tough out, and Hellebuck obviously has the Stars number for no reason at all whatsoever, and I just hate it every time. He's just a stonewall, and he's awesome,
Yeah,
but we saw that last year in the playoffs that if you just break them a little bit, all of a sudden the wheels are falling off. Colorado just kind of jumped all over them, and what was the first game, like 8-5 or 7-5, something like that in the first game of the first round last season against Colorado? It was just ridiculous, but
yeah.
awesome barn, awesome fan base, so hoping they
Yeah, a
don't.
really great fan base. I mean, I live here in Houston, and I wore an Arizona Coyotes T-shirt, and two people from Winnipeg said, "Are you a hockey fan?" I said, "Yeah, I am." They said, "Oh, we're transplants. We lived in Canada and we came down here for the oil industry, and we love our Jets." And they man, that series was insane. And shout out, I mean, obviously, I know we're not a pro Connor Hellebuck podcast, but he did play a year of juniors in Odessa, Texas. So he does have some Texas ties. So, yeah, I mean, there's not, what, 4 or 5 goalies better than him. I'm an
No.
Ottinger fanboy, but I mean, when he's on, you forget, he's the real deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And Team USA's got 3 horses in net. So, and that's something that Canada didn't have. So I'm curious to see how Four Nations plays out. I'm curious to see how this LTIR issue with Tyler Seguin and the Dallas Stars hands out, and then the rest of the season. We're going to be doing this show once a week. Going to release it once a week to start and see how it goes from there. But we're here to talk Texas hockey. The Dallas Stars are our Texas team for now. Hopefully we get another one here in the next couple of years. And we'll be talking NHL as well. It won't be just Dallas Stars. We'll be kind of commenting on everything that's going on in the league. And we'll be watching out for Biz. Hopefully he doesn't get mugged again by 7 dudes. Biz Nasty and Brad Marchand just keeps going after him in TNT broadcasts. So,
Yeah.
Dom, thank you for joining. We'll get this show underway. We'll be releasing it tomorrow, Friday, December 6th. As you're watching this on our Apollo HOU YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like below, and we'll be back to talk more hockey next week. Thanks for joining the Clean Sheet of Ice podcast presented by Apollo Media.